Korvac's alien weapons tore through Rusty's flesh, the dog's blood splattering hot across Donald's face as he screamed in anguish and fury. Donald cradled Rusty's bullet-riddled body, glaring up at the sneering Daxamite with pure hatred. 5 years ago, aliens had massacred Donald's wife and daughter. Now they had murdered his loyal dog. They would pay for spilling the blood of what belonged to a human. Donald Evans, ex-Marine turned freighter captain, had landed his battered cargo ship in Daxam Prime spaceport an hour earlier. The bustling alien port teemed with strange life and exotic smells that set him on edge. He was here to deliver critical medical supplies the human colonies desperately needed to fight a deadly epidemic. Failure meant thousands of human lives lost. As Donald strode through the spaceport, ignoring the alien glares and whispers, he kept his calloused hand on Rusty's harness. The German Shepherd was his only companion, the one thread tying him to a happier past, before the Corva uprising ripped away his family. Aliens had taken everything from him. He would never trust their kind. Arriving at the delivery zone, Donald found his contact, Korvac, waiting with an imperious scowl. The high-ranking Daxamite official was known for his ruthless efficiency and unconcealed disdain for humanity. As Korvac inspected the cargo, he made cutting remarks about human inferiority and incompetence. Donald bit back his anger, needing this job to keep flying, to outrun his grief-soaked memories. Then Rusty broke loose, barking furiously, and the nightmare began anew in a barrage of weapons fire and his dog's dying whimpers. Holding Rusty's bloody form, Donald Evans silently vowed he would have his vengeance against Korvac and all aliendom for this. His hate would keep him warm. Donald's hands shook as he laid Rusty's lifeless body in the shallow grave he had dug. Tears streamed down his face, carving clean lines through the grime and his dog's dried blood. He placed the simple wooden cross, etched with Rusty's name, at the head of the grave. Donald stood, fists clenched, staring at the marker. Rage and grief warred within him, threatening to tear him apart. "I'm so sorry," he whispered hoarsely. "I should have protected you better." A hand clasped his shoulder. Donald spun, reaching for his blaster, but stopped short when he saw a familiar face. Jack Hawkins, his old friend and battle buddy from his Marine days, stood before him. The years had added a few more scars and flecks of grey in Jack's hair, but his eyes still held the same fierce determination. "I came as soon as I heard," Jack said, his voice low and urgent. "Rusty's death wasn't an accident, Donnie. Korvac ordered the hit." Donald's blood ran cold. "What? Why?" "It's a message to Earth-Govu. The Daxamites want us to stay out of their business. They're working on something big, something that could wipe out entire worlds. They plan to use it to control the galaxy." Donald's mind reeled. The implications were staggering. If the Daxamites succeeded, no one would be safe. He met Jack's gaze, a silent understanding passing between them. "I'm in," Donald said, his voice hard as steel. "What's the plan?" "We infiltrate their research facility, gather evidence, and expose their scheme. But we have to move fast. I've got a ship ready." As they turned to leave, Donald's wrist comm pinged. He glanced at the screen, frowning at the unknown sender. The message was short, just a series of coordinates and a single line. "The truth about the Corva uprising lies here." Donald's heart raced. Could this be the lead he had been searching for all these years? A chance to finally uncover what really happened to his family. He looked to Jack, who nodded grimly. They had a mission, and now a personal stake in its success. Donald cast one last glance at Rusty's grave, silently vowing to avenge his fallen friend and family. He would make the Daxamites pay for their crimes, no matter the cost. With renewed purpose, Donald followed Jack into the bustling spaceport, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The hunt for truth and justice had begun. Donald tugged at the collar of his stolen Daxamite maintenance uniform. The coarse fabric chafed his neck as he and Jack crept through the dimly lit corridors of the sprawling research facility. The hum of machinery and the distant echoes of alien voices kept them on edge, their hearts pounding with each step. The main lab should be just ahead, Jack whispered, consulting a holographic map on his wrist device. Stay sharp. They rounded a corner and froze. Before them stretched a massive underground chamber, its walls lined with pulsing conduits and glowing control panels. In the center of the room, suspended in a crackling energy field, hung a menacing sphere, bristling with jagged spikes and pulsing with an eerie blue light. "Holy shit," Donald breathed. "Is that—" "The super weapon," Jack confirmed grimly. "Powered by Zeranium. Enough to wipe out entire planets." Donald's fists clenched. The Daxamites had to be stopped. He and Jack quickly set to work hacking into the facility's mainframe and downloading classified files detailing the weapon's schematics and the Daxamites' plans for galactic domination. Suddenly an alarm blared. Red lights flashed. Donald spun around to see Korvac himself striding into the chamber, flanked by heavily armed guards. "Well, well," Korvac sneered. "The meddlesome humans, I should have known." Laser bolts sizzled through the air as Donald and Jack dove for cover. They returned fire, the acrid smell of ozone filling the room. Korvac barked orders, urging his men forward. "We have to get out of here," Jack yelled over the chaos. Donald nodded, his eyes darting around the chamber. He spotted a cowering figure in a white lab coat, a Daxamite scientist. Making a split-second decision, Donald lunged forward, grabbing the scientist and hauling him along as he and Jack made a desperate break for the exit. Korvac's enraged shouts followed them as they raced through the corridors. The ground shook beneath their feet, and a robotic voice announced the activation of the facility's self-destruct sequence. They burst out of the facility just as a series of explosions ripped through the structure. Panting, Donald turned to the captured scientist, who trembled in his grasp. "Talk," Donald growled. "What do you know about the Corva uprising?" The scientist, Dr. Zoran Krell, hesitated before speaking in a quavering voice. "The Daxamites, they orchestrated the whole thing. They wanted the Zeranium deposits in the Corva system. They needed it for the superweapon." Donald's blood ran cold. "And my wife and daughter? The journalists who died in the uprising?" Dr. Krell swallowed hard. They were getting too close to the truth. Korvac, he ordered their deaths. A wave of grief and rage washed over Donald. Korvac, the same man who had killed Rusty, the same man who had torn his family apart. The pieces fell into place with sickening clarity. Donald's jaw tightened. He met Jack's gaze, a steely resolve settling over him. The Daxamites would pay for their crimes. He would make sure of it, for his wife, his daughter, and for Rusty. Justice would be served no matter the cost. Donald clenched his fists as he stormed out of the United Nations Security Council chambers. The evidence he and Jack had risked their lives to obtain was met with skepticism and dismissal from the very people who were supposed to protect humanity. The corrupt politicians, their pockets lined with Daxamite bribes, had the audacity to label them as traitors. "This is bullshit," Donald growled, his face flushed with anger. "They're too blind to see the truth." Jack placed a hand on his friend's shoulder. "We knew this wouldn't be easy. The Daxamites have their tentacles in every corner of the galaxy." Donald shook his head, his resolve hardening. "If the politicians won't act, we'll have to do it ourselves. We can't let the Daxamites win." Over the next few days, Donald reached out to his contacts in the underworld, assembling a team of the most skilled mercenaries and hackers money could buy. Each had their own reasons for hating the Daxamites, and they were all eager to strike a blow against the alien oppressors. As they gathered in a secret hideout, a familiar figure stepped out of the shadows. Dr. Zoran Krell, the Daxamite scientist they had captured during their escape from the research facility, stood before them, his eyes filled with a mix of shame and determination. "I know you have no reason to trust me," Krell said, his voice trembling slightly, "but I can't stand by and watch my people destroy countless lives. I want to help you stop them." Donald eyed the scientist warily, his hand instinctively reaching for his blaster. Jack stepped forward, his gaze searching Krell's face for any sign of deception. "Why should we believe you?" Jack asked, his voice low and menacing. Krell met his gaze unflinchingly. Because I have information that can help you. I know the layout of the Zeranium production facilities on Daxam Prime. I can get you inside. Donald and Jack exchanged a glance, a silent conversation passing between them. Finally, Donald nodded, his jaw set with determination. All right, Krell, you're in. But if you double-cross us, I'll personally put a bullet between your eyes. With Krell's insider knowledge and the team's expertise, they spent the next few weeks devising a plan to infiltrate the heavily guarded Zeranium facilities. They would sabotage the production lines, rendering the Daxamite's superweapon useless. As they boarded their unmarked ship and set course for Daxam Prime, Donald felt a sense of purpose he hadn't experienced since his days in the Marines. This was his chance to avenge his family and prevent countless others from suffering the same fate. But as they entered Daxamite space, their ship was suddenly rocked by a barrage of laser fire. Korvac's elite forces had been waiting for them, tipped off by a mole within the human government. "We've been betrayed," Jack shouted as he strapped himself into the pilot's seat and took evasive action. Donald gritted his teeth, his heart pounding in his chest. He knew what he had to do. Grabbing a pulse rifle and a handful of grenades, he turned to his team. "Get to the surface and complete the mission. I'll buy you some time." Before anyone could protest, Donald hit the airlock release and launched himself into space, propelling himself towards Korvac's flagship with his suit's thrusters. As he crashed through the airlock and rolled onto the deck, Donald found himself face to face with Korvac. The Daxamite sneered, his eyes glinting with malice. "You really thought you could stop us, human?" Korvac laughed, drawing his plasma blade. Donald dropped into a combat stance, his pulse rifle leveled at Korvac's chest. "I'm not just going to stop you, I'm going to make you pay for every life you've taken." With a roar of fury, Donald charged forward, his desire for vengeance clashing with his duty to protect the galaxy from the Daxamite's tyranny. The fate of countless worlds hung in the balance as the two warriors collided in a brutal dance of death. Donald's pulse rifle clashed against Korvac's plasma blade in a shower of sparks. The two warriors traded blows across the flagship's deck, their faces contorted with rage and exertion. Years of pain and loss fueled Donald's attacks, each strike a testament to the family and friends he had lost to Daxamite cruelty. Korvac sneered, his eyes glinting with malice. "You fight well for a human, but you're no match for me." Donald gritted his teeth, his muscles straining as he parried another blow. "I don't need to be better than you. I just need to be smarter." With a sudden twist, Donald disengaged from the locked blades and dropped to one knee. He fired his pulse rifle at point-blank range, the searing energy bolt tearing through Korvac's chest. The Daxamite staggered back, his eyes wide with shock and pain. "That was for Rusty, you son of a bitch," Donald growled, watching as Korvac crumpled to the deck, his life ebbing away in a pool of blood. But there was no time to savor the victory. Donald's comm crackled to life, Jack's voice filled with urgency. "Donnie, we've got a problem. The team's been captured, and the Daxamites are saying they've got enough Zeranium to fire the superweapon. They're targeting Earth." Donald's blood ran cold. He had been so focused on his personal vendetta that he had lost sight of the bigger picture. The Daxamites had played him, and now his homeworld was in their crosshairs. A cruel laugh echoed through the commage. "You have a choice, human," a Daxamite officer sneered. "Surrender yourself and we'll spare your team and your pathetic planet. Refuse and we'll wipe them all out." Donald closed his eyes, the weight of the decision crushing his soul. He knew what he had to do. "I surrender," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. As Daxamite guards surrounded him and snapped restraints on his wrists, Donald caught Jack's eye through the comm screen. A silent understanding passed between them, and Donald gave an almost imperceptible nod. The guards dragged Donald through the halls of the Daxamite ship, their laughter and jeers ringing in his ears. They threw him into a holding cell, the force field humming to life behind him. But Donald wasn't beaten yet. With a grim smile, he activated the hidden failsafe he and Dr. Krell had planted during their infiltration. A virus designed to overload the Zeranium reactors and bring the Daxamite war machine crashing down. The ship shuddered as the first explosions tore through its hull. Alarms blared and the lights flickered as the virus spread like wildfire. Donald closed his eyes, picturing his wife and daughter, imagining their proud smiles. "I'm coming home," he whispered as the world around him erupted in a blinding flash of light. On Earth, Jack and the team watched in stunned silence as the Daxamite fleet vanished from the skies, consumed by the cataclysmic chain reaction. Tears streamed down their faces as they realized the magnitude of Donald's sacrifice. In the days that followed, a memorial was erected in Donald's honor, a statue of a man and his loyal dog standing tall against the darkness, a reminder of the unbreakable bond between them, and the lengths one soldier would go to protect the innocent and defend what he believed in. Donald Evans was gone, but his legacy would live on, a shining beacon of hope in a galaxy that had known too much sorrow. He had avenged his family, saved his world, and freed the stars from the grip of tyranny. And though he had paid the ultimate price, he had done so willingly, knowing that sometimes the greatest love is the one that lays down its life for others. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.